copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Los Angeles Police calling all cars. Attention all cars to broadcast 243 regarding a missing person. Cooperate with the district attorney's investigator. That's all. Roles and questions.
Friends, the same big red and white tank trucks you see unloading at the police and fire department garages in your city also supply the Rio Grande station in your neighborhood with the identical police car performance gasoline that powers the cars of your public servants. When I have pointed out that more of these emergency cars are powered by Rio Grande Cracked wherever it is sold than any other brand, I have rather taken it for granted that everyone understood there was and is only one Rio Grande Cracked gasoline, not a special grade for official cars and another for the public. However, a few inquiries of late lead me to believe that this fact cannot be emphasized too strongly. That you motorists who tank up at your nearest Rio Grande station do get the benefits of the very same Rio Grande Cracked that now powers not only the police cars and fire engines in many of your cities and counties, but is the motor fuel preferred by an overwhelming number of California state and federal government officials to drive their public-serving automotive equipment. Yes, friends, you get the same quicker starting, speedier pickup, longer mileage, top power, and speed that has caused officials to call it the police car performance gasoline and make Rio Grande Cracked the most highly recommended public-serving gasoline in the West. The story we are to hear tonight has been taken from the confidential records on file in the District Attorney's Office of Los Angeles County. We have therefore asked District Attorney Buron Fitz to open our program. Mr. Fitz.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This story is one in which there was no apparent crime. There was absolutely nothing to indicate to investigating officers that a crime had been committed. Nevertheless, there developed one of the most cleverly planned crimes that it has been my experience to encounter. But like all criminals, the perpetrator of this deed miscalculated just enough to upset his own plans. But how he did this has been reserved for the end of the program.
In April 1925, Captain James Bean, head of the Los Angeles Homicide Squad, looked up from his desk to greet a visitor.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I need your help.
All right, that's what we're here for. What seems to be the trouble?
I'm Dr. Young.
Yes?
I want you to help me find my wife.
Oh, go on.
She's disappeared, and I can't locate her anywhere. Frankly, I'm not worried much about it because, well, she's been writing to me quite regularly.
Then why are you coming to the police?
Well, her father has been making statements that I know where she is.
Well, do you?
No, I don't. He's even gone so far as to insinuate that I've killed her. And, well, I want you to help me find her.
Well, this doesn't quite make sense. You say your wife has been writing to you, and yet you don't know where she is.
Well, that's true. She has written me several letters, but she never gives any street address.
Just who is your wife's father?
Old man F.H. Lunt.
Oh, I see. When did she disappear?
Well, it was on the night of February 22nd. That was Washington's birthday. We went out to the Plantation Inn in Culver City. We were going to celebrate.
Are you flirting with that girl?
Eh? What girl?
Now, don't be evasive. You know what girl. That blonde hussy across the floor.
Why, no. She's a patient of mine.
Oh, a patient of yours. Well, that's a likely story. It isn't enough that you try to carry on affairs with all my friends, but you've got to try to flirt with every pretty face you see in a nightclub.
You're being unreasonable.
Is it unreasonable to ask that you pay attention to your own wife and stop making a fool of yourself?
I'm not making a fool of myself, I tell you. The woman is a patient of mine.
If you tell me that lie again, I'm going to slap your face.
Well, it's the truth.
Come on, take me out of here.
Gladly.
Oh, I was never so humiliated in my life.
Where are you going?
I'm going to the Biltmore.
But aren't you going home?
No, I'm not going home. I couldn't stand to look at that face of yours another minute.
So I drove her downtown. I tried to pacify her as well as I could, and after a while she seemed to sort of cool down. I parked the car, and we went in the hotel, where we met some friends of ours.
Uh-huh. Did you go home after that?
No. And pretty soon I noticed my wife had disappeared. I started looking for her, and just as I got to the side door of the hotel, I saw her get into a taxi with an older man.
Did you recognize him?
Well, I suspect very strongly that it was her father. He's been trying to get Grace under his wing so he would have control of her money.
Has she got considerable money?
Yes. She inherited a great deal from her husband, who died several years ago.
You say you have letters from your wife.
Yes. She wrote me a short note a couple of days after she left. It was postmarked here in Los Angeles. She said she was going to visit her friend in the East, and she thought a short separation would do us both good.
Is this the only letter you have received?
Well, about a week after that, I got a letter from her saying she was in Denver and was on her way to New York. That was about the middle of March, I guess. I got several other letters, and then suddenly she stopped writing. That was about 3 weeks ago. Here are the letters.
Uh-huh. And are you sure these letters are in your wife's handwriting?
Yes, I'm certain of it.
Well, I see nothing particular to worry about yet. The only thing I can advise is for you to do your best to locate her. Of course, you understand the homicide squad has no interest in family squabbles unless a murder has been committed.
You think she may be dead?
Well, judging from what you tell me, I imagine she's all right. But if you don't hear from her pretty soon, let me know.
I'll sue Lunt. I'll sue the old man for every penny he has in the world. I'll sue him for slander. I'll sue him for alienating my wife's affection. I'll teach him.
No. You better take it easy, Doctor. You go on home and cool off. Let me know if you hear from your wife.
All right, Captain. I'm sorry I lost my temper, but this has got me worried to death. You won't say anything to the papers about this, will you?
Why, no, not if you don't want me to.
Well, I would appreciate it. Good day, Captain.
In the next few days, Captain Bean made discreet inquiries about Dr. Young. He learned that he was a successful dentist, well-liked in his profession, and apparently financially successful. Almost a week passed. Then Captain Bean received another visitor.
Oh. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Now, what can I do for you?
I'm Frank Lunt. My daughter's been missing for more than 2 months. I haven't heard a word from her. I think she's been murdered.
What makes you think so?
She was married for her money. Now I think she's been killed for it.
Just who did your daughter marry?
Dr. Thomas Young.
Oh, I see. Go on.
He's a queer-looking duck, but I must admit that he has quite a reputation. Seems to be a very capable man.
Mr. Lunt, I don't think your daughter's dead.
Oh, why not?
Why, Dr. Young has been getting letters from his wife since she disappeared.
I don't believe it.
Oh? Now, here's a package of letters Dr. Young left with me.
He's been to see you?
Yes, he seemed quite worried about his wife's disappearance.
May I see those letters?
Certainly. Is that your daughter's handwriting?
Yes, it is.
Apparently, your daughter has just neglected to write to you.
You say Dr. Young has been here to see you?
Yes, he left those letters. Asked me to help find his wife.
What did he say?
He thinks you know where she is, and you're trying to cause a separation.
Well, I do want to separate them, but I haven't done it this time.
Well, of course, you know the homicide squad is not interested in family quarrels.
But this isn't just a family quarrel, Captain. When you find my daughter, you'll find her dead.
Well, Mr. Lunt, I hope you're wrong, and I believe you are.
I've hired detectives to look for my daughter, Captain. And I understand her husband has done the same. But I don't want you to miss any opportunity that might help bring her back to me.
Captain Bean was now in a quandary. He began a quiet investigation of both Dr. Young and the missing woman's father. 3 weeks passed. Then a man swallowed a tooth and died. That incident in itself was of little account, but it was important in focusing the attention of the authorities upon the mysterious disappearance of Grace Young. For the man who swallowed the tooth was a former deputy city attorney of Los Angeles, and the man who pulled the tooth was Dr. Thomas Young. Routine investigation of the case found that Dr. Young was not negligent, but in the mind of Captain Jimmy Bean there was another thought. He sent for Deputy District Attorney Harold L. Davis.
Want to see me, Jimmy?
Oh, yes, Hal. Sit down.
What's on your mind?
You've been investigating Elmer Mallett's death, haven't you? And this dentist, Dr. Young.
Yeah. Why?
Well, I've been doing a little investigating of Dr. Young myself and his father-in-law, Frank Lunt.
How come?
About 3 weeks ago, they both came to me with a story about Young's wife having disappeared. So far, I've found out that there's been a bitter antagonism between the doctor and his father-in-law for the past 4 years. That was the time the doctor married Lunt's daughter.
Wasn't she a Mrs. Brogan?
Uh-huh, that's the woman. I found out something else. She has a 17-year-old son who seems deeply attached to his stepfather. But it's the boy, not the mother, who inherits the Brogan millions. She's only the administratrix for the estate.
I see. What else?
Mrs. Young is immensely wealthy in her own right. And about a year ago, she drew up a will leaving her property to her 2 brothers, a nephew and her husband, share and share alike. Now, there's nothing unusual in that. The husband gets 1/4 of the estate, and the father doesn't get any. But he has plenty anyway.
What's all this leading up to?
Well, there isn't a reason in the world to believe that this woman has been murdered except her unexplained absence. Both Dr. Young and her father are firmly convinced that the other one knows where she is. Here are some letters that she has written to her husband since her disappearance.
How long ago was this?
The night of February 22nd.
Well, maybe she didn't write these letters.
Oh, yes, she did. I've already looked into that. She has a checking account of several $1,000s, but it hasn't been touched since the night of her disappearance. I got a sample of her handwriting from the bank, and I've had it compared with these letters. There's no doubt in the world that Mrs. Young wrote these letters.
Well, then it ought to be obvious that she's still alive. Or at least she was on the date this last letter was written.
Well, it's up to you boys from now on if you want to do anything about it. There's no reason for my department to start running around looking for a murder and end up finding the whole thing is just a family quarrel.
Well, I'll talk to the district attorney about it and see what he thinks about the proposition.
The district attorney's assistant, Davis, attacked the case from a new angle. Acting upon orders from his immediate chief, Deputy District Attorney Buren Fitz, young Davis went to the home.
Yeah, sir?
Is Mrs. Young home?
No, sir. She ain't been here since Washington's birthday, sir.
Is Dr. Young home?
No, sir. There ain't nobody here, just me and the Filipino boy, that's all.
I'm from the district attorney's office. I want to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, sir. You all come inside.
Thank you.
You all just sit down there and make yourself at home, sir.
You say you haven't seen Mrs. Young since the 22nd of February?
Yeah, sir. If that's Washington's birthday, that's right.
How do you happen to remember the day?
Well, you see, that's the day Dr. Young, he called me up, and he say I don't have to come to work, so I done took my gal to a show.
Do you know if Mrs. Young took any bags or trunks or any of her clothing with her?
I don't know, boss. I knows there was a pretty gal come here after Mrs. Young done gone away. She says she come to get some of Mrs. Young's pretty dresses. She took away a big armful, too.
How'd you happen to let her have them?
Well, she done say Dr. Young said it was all right, so...
What'd this girl look like?
Well, I don't know, except she was an awful pretty gal.
Well, was she blonde or brunette?
Well, I don't know. She had dark hair and blue eyes.
Was she short or tall or...
Well, she's just about medium.
Have you ever seen this woman before?
No, sir, I ain't never seen her before.
Have you seen her since?
Yes, sir. She been here lots of times since then.
Has Dr. Young ever been here when she was?
Well, no, sir, I ain't never seen him.
All right. You just forget I was here, will you?
Yes, sir. Is anything wrong, sir?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I'd just rather you didn't mention I've been around.
Scenting an illicit romance, Davis pondered the question of the mysterious woman who had taken the missing wife's clothing with the doctor's consent. Reasoning that the man would not permit the clothing to be worn unless he knew his wife was not coming back, Davis decided to question the dentist.
Good afternoon, sir.
Is Dr. Young in?
Yes, sir, but he's terribly busy now.
Bring him in here, please. I want to talk to him.
Yes, sir.
Did you wish to see me?
Yes, by yourself.
That'll be all, Miss Lyon.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Young, I'm Harold Davis at the district attorney's office. We're conducting a search for Mrs. Young.
That's fine. I'm glad you are. I've had private detectives looking for her for weeks now. Have you any idea where she might be?
No, have you?
No, sir, I haven't.
What I want to know, Dr. Young, is who took Mrs. Young's clothing from your home shortly after she left.
Clothing? I didn't know there was any missing. Where did you learn that?
Just let that pass for the time being. Have you any idea who took the clothing?
Possibly. My wife had a friend call for it.
Possibly. Dr. Young, how did your wife happen to leave you? Do you mind telling me?
Why, no. You see, my wife was always influenced by her people. I feel certain that old man Lunt, her father, knows where she is. I half suspect my wife is being held against her will. And I think you officers should make him tell what he knows about her disappearance.
Well, perhaps you're right. By the way, have you any idea who might be supplying your wife with money in case she needs it? I understand she didn't have any with her when she left.
Oh, yes, she did. She had $100,000 in Liberty bonds.
What? $100,000?
Yes.
Where'd she get them?
I gave them to her.
You gave your wife $100,000 in Liberty bonds?
Yes, sir. And there's the receipt she signed when I gave them to her.
You mean you got her to sign a receipt for them?
Yes, sir. I gave them to her the night she left. And I got her to sign a receipt because I didn't want any of her relatives to accuse me of stealing them.
You mind if I take this receipt and have it compared with her handwriting?
Not at all, providing I get it back.
You'll get it back.
Will you excuse me just a minute, Mr. Davis? I have a patient in the chair.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
No, not at all. Give me Trinity 2141. Eddie King, please. Hello, Eddie. Look, Eddie, I'm down at Dr. Young's office. I have a sneaking hunch that his secretary will bear watching. Grab a car and get down here to 847 South Broadway and watch for a dark-haired, blue-eyed girl about 5.5 feet tall. Yeah. She'll be dressed in a pale blue dress. You keep your eyes on her, will you?
Well, Mr. Davis, that's taken care of. Patient's gone now. Is there anything else I can do for you?
No, I think not. I may call on you for some more information later on.
Davis returned to his office, where for an hour he waited for a telephone message. Then, together with Investigator King, he drove to the home of Frank Lunt, father of the missing woman.
I had the handwriting on that receipt compared by J. Clark Sellers.
Mm-hmm.
He says the same handwriting as that on the letters Young received and on Mrs. Young's signature card at the bank.
Well, that definitely clears Young, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Young's in the clear.
You think the woman's dead?
I don't know. We'd like to see Mr. Lunt, please.
Yes, sir. Won't you come in?
This place seems like a morgue.
Yeah. I'm beginning to wonder if it is.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. You want to see me?
Mr. Lunt, I'm Hal Davis from the district attorney's office. This is Mr. King.
How do you do?
How do you do, sir?
We're conducting a quiet search for your daughter.
And I'm glad of that.
You mind if we ask you some very pointed questions?
Not at all.
Well, Dr. Young thinks he saw you get into a taxicab with his wife the night she disappeared. Did you?
Absolutely not.
You knew, of course, that your daughter had $100,000 in Liberty bonds when she disappeared.
Had what?
$100,000 in Liberty bonds.
Ridiculous. Where would Grace get $100,000 in Liberty bonds? Why, she wouldn't be so foolish.
Dr. Young gave her the bonds the night she disappeared.
Why, you're joking. That two-bit dentist couldn't raise $2,000, let alone $100,000.
I'm afraid you're wrong, Mr. Lunt.
Well, possibly. He wouldn't give it to her if he did have it.
On the contrary, your daughter gave her husband a receipt for the bonds she took with her on that night.
Where is it?
Right here.
Let me see it.
Is that your daughter's handwriting?
Yes, I'm afraid that it is.
Well, have you any ideas about this, Mr. Lunt?
No. Grace had Liberty bonds of her own, considerably more than $100,000. I don't have any idea where she keeps them, but that dentist, he never did have and never will have that much money invested in anything.
Just what do you think has become of your daughter, Mr. Lunt?
I came to the conclusion long ago that Dr. Young killed her after they left the plantation inn that night.
Why did he kill her? What possible motive could he have?
Oh, I don't know. According to Grace's will, he gets only a small portion of her estate. I can't believe he'd kill her for that.
Neither do we, Mr. Lunt. Well, if you hear from your daughter, will you get in touch with us?
Yes, the minute I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Davis went straight to the district attorney and laid the facts before him.
All right, Davis. If you think you can solve this case, we will break the story. But if you think you can't solve it, we'd better keep it quiet till we get more evidence.
Well, it might be wishful thinking on my part, but I still think we can solve the case. But I'll need every man you can spare because it's going to take some hard work.
You can have as many men as you need.
All right, I'd like to have Eddie King keep the doctor and his secretary in sight.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to have another man keep track of the Lunts, especially the father. And I'd like to have somebody pick up the trail of Dr. Young at the Plantation Inn. That's about all we can do for the time being.
Next morning, Los Angeles newspapers screamed the sensational story of the missing heiress. Investigators learned that Dr. Young was extremely methodical in his habits, that he was not involved in any love affairs, that he was devoted to his wife. Then an important clue was uncovered by Investigator King.
This'll knock your head off, Chief.
Yeah?
That girl in Doc Young's office has been seen at the gay spots around town wearing Mrs. Young's sable coat and her diamonds.
Has Dr. Young been stepping with her?
As a matter of fact, she hasn't been seen much with Young. She keeps pretty much to herself. But the point is, she's been wearing Mrs. Young's clothing.
Bring that girl in.
Davis raced with the flying squadron to make another check of Mrs. Young's expensive wardrobe at her home. His discoveries convinced him he was following a warm trail. Numerous items of apparel, expensive coats, fragile garments, and priceless jewelry were now found in Mrs. Young's bedroom. All articles that had been missing when investigators had checked before. Neither the chef nor the Filipino houseboy could explain the mysterious reappearance of the clothing and jewelry. Within an hour, Mrs. Young's father had identified the returned property as that of his daughter.
Police department, please. Homicide detail. Captain Bean, this is Hal Davis. Will you pick up Dr. Young and bring him to my office right away? Thanks. Come in, Eddie. What'd you find out?
Well, the girl's not there, Al. Had another girl in the building inquire for her. Dr. Young said it, the Lion girl gone down to the beach.
Oh, I was afraid of that. Well, I've got Mrs. Young's boy in the next room. I'm going to talk to him again. You can take care of that other job now.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, Pat.
Oh, hello, Mr. Davis.
Say, Pat, did Dr. Young ever suggest that you make out a will?
Oh, yes. Why?
You're the heir to your father's fortune, aren't you?
Well, sure.
Did Dr. Young suggest that you make him your beneficiary?
Well, sure. He thought it would be a good idea, and so did I. What's wrong with that?
Why, nothing at all, son. Well, that'll be all. Good night.
Well, good night, Mr. Davis. But say, if you think Dr. Young killed my mother, you're all wrong. Mom's all right, I know.
Good night, son. Come in.
Here's Dr. Young, Hal.
Come in, Jim. Sit down, Dr. Young.
Well, Mr. Davis, have you found any trace of my wife?
No, we haven't, Doctor. Dr. Young, are you in love with your secretary?
That's a mighty foolish question to ask.
Why has she been wearing your wife's clothing?
She borrowed Mrs. Young's clothing in order to make an impression on her boyfriend. She borrowed Mrs. Young's diamond to make him jealous. I loaned my wife's clothing and ring to Miss Lyon, and I returned them to my home when she was through with them.
Like hell you did. No man lends his wife's clothing and jewelry unless he's positive he'll never see his wife again.
That's absurd.
Or unless he's positive she's dead.
Mr. Davis, you trying to upset me?
I'm trying to find out the truth. Now, what is it, Eddie?
Well, here's something that looks awfully interesting, Chief.
Yes, it does.
What is it?
$100,000 in Liberty bonds.
That I found in Dr. Young's office a few minutes ago.
Those bonds, in case you're interested, belong to John Leonard, the father of my deceased first wife.
Dr. Young, I believe you're lying. I think those bonds belong to Grace Young.
Sorry you don't believe me. I had nothing whatever to do with my wife's money.
Yeah. That's why you killed her. You wanted that money.
No, that's a lie.
Here's something the doctor might explain, Hal. While I was waiting for him to get ready to come here this afternoon with me, I noticed his secretary writing some letters. The note paper, you will notice, is the same as the paper on which Mrs. Young's letters to the doctor were written.
You forgot that Mr. Sellers has already stated that Mrs. Young wrote those letters.
Yes? All right, send them in.
Mr. Davis?
Yes? What can I do for you?
We saw a story in the paper that you was investigating the Young case. Oh, why, hello, Dr. Young. I didn't see you.
You know this man?
Hello. Oh, why, sure. That's what me and my partner come up to see you about. You see, about 4 or 5 months ago, me and my partner here and me, we dug a cistern out on his place in Beverly Glen. We dug a cistern, about 10 feet deep. I guess it must have been about 8 or 9 feet in width. Bill, wasn't it 8 feet? Don't you think it was?
Never mind. What's the rest of the story?
Oh, when we saw the story in the paper about Mrs. Young, we thought, my partner and I, Bill here, we thought that it was just possible that, she'd stumbled into the pit and accidentally been killed.
Accidentally?
Yes, sir. You see, that cistern was left open at Dr. Young's request. He told us we was not to finish the job on account of, he had some kind of a filtering system he was going to put in the bottom of the cistern, you see.
That hole has been covered up.
Oh.
Pat and I went up there one Sunday and put in the cement floor and covered the cistern with boards. I'm positive Mrs. Young didn't fall into the open pit.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I just thought maybe so it wouldn't hurt to mention it, you know. She could have stumbled in, yes?
Or she could have been pushed in and buried alive.
No. She was dead. She was...
Yes, Doctor? You were going to say something else?
No. Nothing.
Mr. Ramsey, what are you doing tomorrow, you and your partner?
Wait. Nothing, I guess, Mr. Davis.
Well, tomorrow I want you to dig up the bottom of that cistern.
No. Don't dig it up. I killed her. I'll tell you about it. She was mean to me. She was always shooting off her mouth. I stopped that voice of hers. For years, that voice has been driving me crazy. I stopped it.
In just a moment, Mr. Buren Fitz will give us additional facts regarding our program. The case of the missing automobile baffled everyone for a time until its owner went to the spot where he had last seen it, and there he found, pinned on the garage door, a note that read,
Dear boss, I did my best. Tried to do the right thing, but I guess I was getting old. I couldn't take it anymore. Now that it's all over, you might as well know the truth. That excuse for a motor oil you used to give me was what brought on my last illness. Honest, boss, I wouldn't give that so-called lubricant to a lawnmower. Still, you fed it to me. My health broke down. I'm gone, and I hope you're satisfied. I also hope you treat your next car better than you treated me. Signed, your broken-down Otto.
An automotive fable? Yes, friends, but it carries this moral. If you want your car to serve you well and long to the maximum of its ability, do your share. Protect the inner automobile with Real Lube. Safeguard its every revolution with this, the longer life lubricant that inoculates your motor against the ravages of needless wear. Don't kill your car with the overwork that accompanies under-lubrication. Make your next refill a crankcase full of Real Lube, the newest and finest motor oil sold in the West. And now, Mr. Fitz.
Dr. Young was brought to trial, where he heard numerous witnesses blast to pieces the cunning framework of a perfect crime. He told how he had plied his wife with drink the night of the crime, had tricked her into writing the letters to him, how she had signed them, and how he had sent the letters to a friend to be mailed to him at regular intervals. He heard his alibi in connection with the bonds denounced as false. He heard his secretary testify that she had missed the stationery and envelopes from her box the day following his wife's disappearance. The girl's testimony seemed to break his heart. When court reconvened the last day of the trial, Dr. Young did not appear. During the night, he had fashioned a noose from a radio antenna in his jail cell and had hanged himself. His was an almost perfect crime, but it failed to pay.
Thank you, Mr. Fitz.
Los Angeles Police calling all cars. Attention all cars. A cancellation of broadcast 243 regarding a missing person. Suspects in this case committed suicide. That's all. Rosenquist.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night. Calling all cars, a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Los Angeles Police calling all cars. Attention all cars. Broadcast 244 at Vine and Santa Monica. Assistant officer. Vine and Santa Monica. That's all. Rosenquist.
how some persons reacted to the introduction of higher-powered motors. What, they said, 60 horsepower? That's more than you need. But we've all come to it, friends, realizing that a motor of higher power runs more smoothly because it takes us there with greater ease and less effort. Some folks of good enough intentions used to say Rio Grande cracked gasoline was all right for police cars, fire engines, and ambulances. But they sometimes argued, what do I want with police car performance? I'm not chasing criminals. Well, those days are gone forever. Motor-minded men and women are driving to the red and white station in their neighborhood in ever-increasing numbers. No, of course, you're not chasing criminals, but you are hot on the trail of maximum motoring pleasure and satisfaction for less money. That's exactly what you get when you tank up with Rio Grande cracked, the quicker starting, longer lasting gasoline of greater speed and power. If you've been putting it off for no good reason, let your car turn in at the nearest Rio Grande station tomorrow morning. Take on a tankful of Rio Grande cracked, and then see for yourself. If you need an oil change, switch to Reolube, the pure 100% paraffin-based motor oil that doesn't break down when thermometers go up, because it's built to withstand the combined attack of intense heat and high speed. Two loyal and true traveling companions, Rio Grande Cracked, the most highly recommended gasoline in the West, and Reolube, the newest and finest motor oil sold in this market. The story we are to hear tonight has been taken from confidential files of the Los Angeles Police Department. We are pleased to present Chief of Police James E. Davis.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Occasionally, a criminal gets the idea that he can beat the law. He spends years in planning, hoping to reap a quick profit, only to find that a machine has been built expressly to prevent his success. The law enforcement machinery of the United States, and of the Los Angeles Police Department specifically, has been designed to bring home vividly to the criminal element the lesson that crime does not pay. I shall reserve additional facts on the case for the end of the program.
This story concerns one John Parker, a respected citizen of a small Midwestern town, a minor executive in the town's largest bank and owner of a comfortable but unpretentious home. John Parker would appear to the casual observer a good, average American citizen. Julia, John's wife, is also a popular member of the community. Her bridge teas are the delight of the literary club, and although her set considers Julia a bit too noisy and gaudy for rigid good taste, it manages to forgive the infraction, for Julia is from New York and just not used to the quiet life of a small town. Our scene is the Parkers' living room. It is 7 in the evening.
I hate it.
What did you say, Julie?
I said I hate it.
Hate what?
You know very well what I'm talking about. This junk heap of a town, that's what.
Oh.
Take your feet off that chair. I want to sit down. Look here, John. Just how much longer do we have to stick in this burg? Will you tell me that? Stop reading that paper.
Oh, in heaven's name, Julie, let's not start another row. It takes time, I tell you. You got to give me time. You can't make a thing like this work in a day.
A day? I wouldn't call 7 years in this jerkwater town a day. I tell you, I'm sick to death of that clanking bunch of women with their silly gab about literature. And I'm sick of taking care of the house and going to the proper places and living on a dime a week. I won't take it much longer, John. I'm sick of it, do you hear? And I'm getting out, see?
Hold up there, Julie. Now, sit down again, honey. Let's talk this thing out once and for all.
Okay, I'm sitting. Talk.
7 years ago, back in little old New York, when we took each other for better or for worse, I meant it. Did you?
You know I did, John.
Okay. As far as the cops were concerned, we were both as hot as flat irons, weren't we? Always had them on our trail because of some petty job, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we decided to put what money we had together and call it our operating capital. We decided that we'd take our $2,000 and make it grow until it was $10,000.
Yeah.
Then we could pull one big job and live easy the rest of our lives. Our Liberty Bond job.
Oh, can it, John? This bedtime story makes me sick. I know it forwards and backwards. But why on earth did we choose this town to work in? And why is it taking so long? Tell me that.
Julie, what would you think if I told you that my next paycheck would bring us up to the 10,000 mark?
Hey, I feel we call over. Is it really true, John?
It's really true. In 2 weeks from now, we'll be on our way. I was going to tell you tomorrow anyhow, but you jumped me tonight.
Gosh. Oh, gosh, I can't talk. I'm so excited. Where do we go?
Kansas City, I think. It's the best place I know of for the job.
Well, what about the bogus bonds? Where do we get them?
Don't you worry about that, honey. I've already got them taken care of.
Tell me.
Well, you remember Hank Flynn back east?
Yeah.
Best forger in the business?
Yeah?
He's been working on the fake liberties for months. I got him today.
Hey, through the mail?
Express, stupid. Safe and sound with no hitches from Uncle Sam. $500,000 worth of forged Liberty bonds.
Where are you going to get the good ones?
In Kansas City, of course.
Oh, gee. I don't know what to say. Just think. After 7 years in this burg, pinching pennies and playing the small-town homebodies, we're at last going to get away. Oh, gosh. I could scream for joy.
Yeah, it is great, isn't it? But listen, little lady, your days of being a homebody aren't over, you know. It'll be another 6 or 8 months after we leave here before we can pull the job.
Oh, I don't care about that. We'll at least be away from this hole. Oh, gee, it seems too good to be true.
3 weeks later in Kansas City, John Parker makes a purchase.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm John Parker. I've just come to Kansas City, and I'm contemplating opening an account at the bank here. But before I do, I want to buy some Liberty bonds.
Yes, sir. And about how much did you want to invest, Mr. Parker?
Well, I thought about $8,000 would be good to start with.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to take the bonds with me if you have them.
Well, I think that can be arranged. Take a little time to get them ready, have them registered, and so forth.
That's all right. Meantime, I can open my checking account, and as soon as the bonds are ready, you can call me up. Here's my phone number.
Oh, yes, that's fine. I'll make out your depositor's card now. What is the address, Mr. Parker?
1423 Richmond.
1423 Richmond.
That's right.
And about how much did you wish to deposit, Mr. Parker?
$10,000.
$10,000. That's nice. Just sign right here, Mr. Parker, right here. There we are. Now, I'll call you just as soon as the bonds are ready.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I hope you'll take full advantage of our facilities here, Mr. Parker. And if there's anything we can do for you, we'll be glad to do it.
I'm sure I can use you. Your bank, I mean.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, good day, Mr. Parker. Good day.
Good day.
Good day.
Farmer's Trust, cashier's office. Yes, the statement was sent out. All right, thank you.
I beg your pardon.
Yes, sir?
I'd like to speak to the cashier about opening an account and renting a lockbox.
Yes, sir. Mr. Trent is our cashier. He'll help you.
Well, good morning, sir. May I do something for you?
Yes, if you will. I'm Arthur Langland Smith. I'd like to open an account here.
Certainly, Mr. Smith. I believe I heard you mention a lockbox, too.
Well, yes. I have here about $125,000 worth of Liberty bonds, and I feel that that's just a little too much to be carrying around with me. Don't you agree?
I most certainly do agree. If you will just come this way, Mr. Smith, the custodian will take care of the box for you.
All right.
Right back this way, if you please, Mr. Smith.
That's a nice bank you have here.
Well, we're proud of it. Do a lot of business here.
Yes, I've heard Independence is a very nice town.
Going to be here long?
Yes, I think so. I may go into business here if things turn out the way I hope they will.
We'd be glad to have you call on us any time you need any capital.
Well, thank you very much. I'd probably do that.
Here are the safe deposit boxes. Oh, Bob, will you fix up a number 3 box for Mr. Smith here?
Yes, sir.
He has some Liberty bonds he wants to leave with us.
Certainly, sir. Do you have the bonds with you, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, right here.
There's $125,000 there, Bob, so be careful with it.
Oh, yeah, I will, and how. There you are. And here's your key, Mr. Smith. The other one, of course, we keep on file here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, Mr. Smith will go up and make out the signature card for your account. Oh, is this a joint account? Will Mrs. Smith sign with you?
Oh, no. I take care of everything myself.
The following week, we find John Parker back in Kansas City.
People's Bank, Dixon speaking.
Oh, hello, Mr. Brent. Yes? I'll see to it right away, sir. Yes, sir. May I help you?
Are you Mr. Dixon, the cashier?
Yes, sir.
My name is Feld. John Aiken Feld. I'd like to open an account here, but I think I better arrange for a lockbox, too.
Oh, yes. If you'll just come this way, the custodian will see you to the box, and I'll take care of the opening of your account.
That's nice weather you're having here in Kansas City.
You've been here long?
Only a week.
Wait till it gets dry.
Yeah, I've heard it gets a little dry some seasons of the year.
Well, here we are. Now, what size box did you have in mind, Mr. Feld?
Well, it doesn't matter, really. I have this package of bonds I'd like to leave.
$125,000. Oh, that's a nice little nest egg, Mr. Feld.
Yeah, I've been sort of looking around for a place to use these, you know.
Are you staying in Kansas City?
Yeah, I'm opening a branch office here.
Well, that's fine. We're always glad to have additions to Kansas City's business life. I hope you won't hesitate to call on us if we can be of any service to you.
Thank you. I think maybe I can use some of your money from time to time.
All right, sir. We'll be glad to see you anytime, Mr. Feld. And call on us for anything that we can do for you in our line.
I'll do that.
Kansas City Bank? Yes, it's the cashier's office. What? Oh, yes, the new shipment from Federal Reserve. Today? Thank you. May I help you, sir?
Yes, if you will. I'm Henry Blakefield Baker. I'd like to see Mr. Avery. He's the cashier, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
About opening an account and renting a lockbox. I have a large quantity of Liberty bonds here, and I don't want to carry them around with me.
Yes, Mr. Baker. Just a moment, please. I'll get Mr. Avery for you.
Merchants Bank of Lawrence. It's Mr. Freely speaking. Yes? Yes? All right. I'll have it ready for you this afternoon. Yes. Goodbye. Yes, sir. Pardon me. May I do something for you?
Mr. Freely?
Yes, that's my name.
I'm
yes.
Michael Johnson.
Oh?
I'd like to open an account with your bank.
Well, I'd be glad to take care of it for you.
Yes, and I'd like to arrange for a lockbox, too.
Lockbox.
I have here about $125,000 in U.S. Liberty bonds that I'm not too keen about carrying around with me.
No. Well, I should imagine not, no. Well, we'll take care of the box first in that case. Now, if you'll just come this way, the custodian...
4 months later, John Parker pays another of his frequent visits to the several banks. This time, he returns to the Farmers Trust in Independence. He carries $8,000 in United States Liberty bonds with him.
Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Roy.
Good morning. How are you, Mr. Smith?
How are you today, Ellen?
Why, hello, Mr. Smith.
Hello, Alice. How are things with the cashier's office?
Oh, couldn't be better, thanks. Can we do something for you?
Bet you can. Is Trent around?
Yes, he's gone up to the president's office, but he ought to be back any minute.
Well, then I'll wait for him. Oh, there he is now.
Well, good morning, Mr. Smith.
Morning, Trent. How goes it?
Fine, thanks. Been pretty busy the last few days. Now, what can we do for you today?
Well, I think I'm in the market for a small loan today, about $7,000. How about it?
Yes, sir. Your credit's ace high here. You know, as I was telling Alice yesterday, if everyone paid off his loans as you do, I'd never have a headache. As it is, I've got a chronic one.
Well, you know how it is. Invest wisely and pay off well or something.
Kind of a businessman's adage, eh?
Yeah.
Now, if you'll just step over here, sir. Liberty bonds for collateral, as usual?
Yeah, I have a chance to turn a little deal that I think will net a nice profit.
You have the bonds there, have you, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, here you are. $8,000.
And you want $7,000, is that it?
That's right.
All right, sir. Sign right there. Oh, Alice, have you seen my blotter?
Yes, sir. Here it is, right here.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Smith. We'll credit your account with $7,000.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trent. I'll be seeing you in a few days.
At the end of 6 months, the setting for John Parker's drama was complete. He had borrowed large sums from one and then another bank using good Liberty bonds for collateral and had paid off the loans religiously. And as an extra means of ensuring his financial standing with each firm, $125,000 in forged bonds rested in the lockbox at each bank. It is evening, and John and Julia are having dinner at home.
So we're all set, huh?
All set.
Through with your plate?
Yeah.
Give it to me. When's it to come off, John?
Well, I'll tell you, but prepare to be shocked
Okay. I'm prepared. When?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Hey, don't let it throw you, honey.
Tomorrow? Oh, gee, I'm so tickled I could break another plate. I think I will.
Julie,
And
what?
Another.
Hey, cut it out. What?
Another.
Julie,
Goodbye,
cut it out. Whoa there. Remember, we got to eat some breakfast from those
boy,
dishes.
This is swell. I've been waiting 7 years for this minute. Whoopee!
I'll be out in no time, honey. Don't go away from the car.
Okay. Hey, which is this?
Farmers Trust of Independence. Now sit tight. We have to travel fast today. We got 4 towns we got to make before we're set.
I know. Well, go on. You're wasting time yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Baker.
How do you do, Mr. Smith?
How are you today, Ellen?
Well, good morning, Mr. Smith. You're an early caller today.
Morning, Trent. Yeah, I seem to have a busy day ahead.
Fine. Busy days sound good to all of us, I guess. What can I do for you?
Well, I'd like to secure a rather sizable loan. I got a big deal on today.
Oh, good. How much will you need?
About $100,000, I think. I have $125,000 in liberties in my lockbox that I'll put up as collateral.
All right, Mr. Smith. Your credit's always good with us. Now, do you want the proceeds of the loan placed to the credit of your checking account?
No, I'll want cash. I'm buying a piece of property, you see, and the old farmer I'm dealing with insisted that I pay in cash. In fact, the old codger wanted gold, but I finally convinced him the bank wouldn't let me have gold.
All right. Now, if you'll just step over here to the note teller's window, we'll get your money.
Good morning, Mr. Feld.
Good morning, Mr. Feld.
Well, top of the morning to you, Dixon.
And the same to you, Mr. Feld. How's high finance these days?
Pretty good at that. I got a big deal on today.
Oh, fine. Glad to hear it.
I'd like to borrow a pretty sizable sum with the bonds in my lockbox for collateral. How about it?
Yes, sir. Won't you step over here to my office? About how much?
Oh, I think about 100,000 will do. Good morning, Avery. How are you today?
Mr. Baker. Fine, thanks. What can I do for you?
Well, you can lend me $100,000. You see, I got $125,000 in liberties down in my lockbox. I'll put those up as collateral.
I'll have the note ready in just a few minutes.
Morning, Freely.
Morning, Mr. Johnson. What's it going to be today?
Well, today I'm in the market for a rather large loan.
Yes?
I'll, of course, put up Liberty bonds as collateral, as usual.
Oh, for the open road and all that. Hey, we must be about to the Colorado line by now, huh, John?
Almost. We ought to be able to get a boat right away when we get to San Diego.
Oh, we have to. Oh, gee, honey. Isn't this great?
Yeah. We won't ever be able to come back to this country, but then I guess the rest of the world is big enough to keep us entertained. How's about it, Julie?
Oh, sure. Is that a car following us, John?
No.
I bet it is.
No, it isn't, Julie. No one will look for us until the bank examiners make the rounds.
Yeah, but maybe they already made the rounds.
Oh, for the love of Mike. Sometimes you get me so sore I could sock you. Just how dumb do you think I am, huh? I planned this job so we'd have 2 months before the examiners went around.
Yeah, but maybe the cashiers have spotted the bogus bonds.
Hey, did you ever take a look at those bonds, Julie?
No.
Well, you can't tell they're phonies unless you read every line of them. And I don't think the cashiers will do that.
No.
For heaven's sake, what do you think I spent 6 months building up my credit for?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to start an argument.
Okay, then. Just relax. We're absolutely safe until the examiners make the rounds, and we'll be on the high blue sea by then.
Oh, look, John. There's a swell roadhouse. Let's stop and eat. It's way after 7 o'clock.
Okay, we eat.
5 days later, back in the City Bank of Kansas City, Kansas, chaos takes hold. The bank examiners arrive unexpectedly.
Good morning, Mr. Brown.
Good morning, Mr. Avery. How's business in City Bank?
Very good, sir. You're a little ahead of time, aren't you, Mr. Brown?
Yes, a little. Going on a vacation in a few days. I thought I'd better get things cleaned up before I left.
Well, that's fine. I think you'll find everything in order.
All right. Let's start in with your first bookkeeper here. I'll get through with him as soon as I can. Then he can start to work. Oh, would you mind pasting this strip of tape over the ledger tray in that cage, Mr. Avery?
Not at all. We have had a few big loans lately. Business seems to be picking up.
That's so? I hope you didn't take any Liberty bonds in as collateral.
Well, as a matter of fact, we did. Why?
You did? Well, where are they?
Why, right back here in the note teller's cage. Anything wrong with Liberty bonds as collateral?
Well, that all depends. Let me look at those bonds.
I think you'll find these bonds all right. One of our best customers, Mr. Baker, left them with us. He'll be in today, I'm sure. He said he'd be back in about a week. Here are the bonds right here.
Just as I thought. Did you check these bonds before you made the loan?
Yes, certainly.
Have you got any other Liberty bonds here?
Well, yes, sir. Right here. Here's one.
All right, compare them. Take a look at those serial numbers.
Well, what do you know about that?
I don't understand why these bonds weren't checked closely on such a large loan.
Well, sir, the bonds were checked. Not as closely as they should have been, perhaps, but the gentleman had always been more than good in his dealings with us. He was well known to us. We'd made him several big loans, and he always paid off before they were due.
You realize, of course, that this is the third bank where we've discovered the same situation?
No.
Absolutely, the third. Used a different name in each case, but undoubtedly it's the same man.
What are the others?
The Farmers Trust of Independence, People's Bank on the Missouri side, and now yours. No telling how many others he's pulled the same stunt in.
Well, isn't anything being done?
Well, you just said yourself you have no records of the man. He was a slippery one. We can't do anything, no records to go by, nothing. Fellow has covered his tracks completely.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
Maybe there is something we can do after all.
Yes?
When he came in for the loan, I remember the teller had to open a new shipment of bills from the Federal Reserve to let him have that much cash.
Did?
I have the serial numbers of that shipment.
Good. That gives us something to work on. Let's get the listings now, then we can call the police.
2 days later, the police have determined by bills passed at restaurants along the road that John Parker, alias Smith, alias Fell, alias Baker, alias Johnson, is on his way to California. It is late evening, and Julia and John are staying in a secluded boarding house in Hollywood, awaiting the time to drive to San Diego and ship out for foreign parts.
There are the tickets, baby. We see the South Sea Islands first. How's it sound?
Oh, wonderful. Let me see. Oh, jeepers. Isn't it great? When do we sail?
Tomorrow morning.
Well, when do we leave here?
Tonight at midnight.
Oh.
It'll take us 4 hours to drive it.
Gosh, I'm as excited as a little kid going to a picnic. Hey, you better get your papers and things packed. I left them for you because I didn't know what to do with them.
I guess I better. Here, you want to see the paper?
Yeah.
It was under the landlady's door, but I don't think she reads the newspaper.
Oh, you cheap pickpocket. Go on now. Hey, John.
Yeah, what is it?
Have you looked at this paper?
No, why?
Well, Julie, you're as pale as a ghost. What is it?
Take a look at that.
Great guns, that's us. Julie, we should never have passed those notes along the road.
Sure. No, they wouldn't find out for 2 months. The bank examiners wouldn't come. Oh, no. You're always so darn smart.
Well, how'd I know? Oh, gee, Julie, let's not fight. We gotta think and think fast.
Well, we gotta get out of this place. I gave the landlady one of those bills this morning.
Then scram it is, and now.
Gee, it's dark on this street.
Yeah, thank heavens.
Information had been received by the Los Angeles Police Department to be on the lookout for the fleeing pair. In a police car in downtown Los Angeles, officers Rombo and Stromwell of the robbery detail are cruising.
Having a lot of to-do down at headquarters about this man who got so much dough in that bank hall back east.
Yeah, and they say there's a woman traveling with him.
I wish we'd get some more dope on him. I'd like a little action about now.
Los Angeles Police calling all cars. Attention all cars.
Well, I guess you're going to get your action.
Be on the lookout for a man and woman driving a 1931 or 32 Packard sedan, dark green with disc wheels. Believed to be traveling south in Los Angeles. May be headed for San Diego. Automobile carrying Missouri license. Calling car 69 and car 83. Cars 69 and 83. Call your station. Attention all cars. Repeat on broadcast regarding man and woman driving a 1931.
Hurry, John. Hurry.
I wish we could get out of this traffic.
Well, you've got to get out some way.
Look out the back. You see anything?
Yeah, there's a couple of squad cars back about 2 blocks. I don't think they spotted us yet.
There's one up ahead, too. They'll see us if we stay in this car. Grab hold of the money satchel and sit tight, Julie.
What are you going to do?
I'm turning in this alley.
Why?
In another minute, they'd have spotted this buggy. We gotta ditch it. Come on.
Where are we going?
That beer parlor at the end of the alley. Come on, run.
Oh, John, I'm so scared.
Take it easy, honey. Here. We'll wander around among the crowd for a minute, then we'll slip out the front.
Oh, gee.
Come on. Easy does it now.
Come on, let's hurry.
No. Walk. Slow.
All right.
Come on now. Out the front. Hey, look, Joe, in that alley.
Yeah, a package seat, Dan, with disc wheels and a Missouri license plates.
Tell the fellas near the car.
Okay. Hey, Weaver! Weaver! We found that car. They must have gone to that beer parlor at the end of the alley. Take your men and circle around the block.
Right.
Gee, I'd feel a lot safer in that beer joint than out here in the street.
Come on, let's make a dash for that dark street down there.
All right. They've got us, John.
Stay where you are, you two.
They're carrying a bag.
Make a run for that fire escape.
All right.
Stop or else shoot.
Oh, they're shooting us.
No, they're not. They're shooting wild. I hope this window up here opens.
Hurry,
It's
John.
our only chance.
Hurry.
It won't open.
Oh,
Toss that bag here and walk down with your hands up.
This is it, Julie. I'm sorry, baby.
Come on down, or we're coming up after you. Throw that valise down.
All right, you got it, copper.
Come on down. Keep your hands up. You coming or do we come up there?
No, we're coming. Let's go, Julie.
Gee, ain't this great? From literary clubs and Denning to the Ooze Cow in 3 easy jumps. And we were going to live off the fat of the land.
In just a moment, Chief Davis will conclude our story. Remember, friends, the men who know the most about gasoline because they drive the most, the police officers, firemen, ambulance drivers, and the men at the wheels of the emergency automotive equipment of your state and federal government, together with tens of thousands of motorists, declare Rio Grande Cracked is the gasoline that delivers police car performance in all emergencies, great and small. Remember, too, our new friend Realube, the indestructible motor oil that is perfected in the nation's largest, most up-to-the-minute refinery. Keep your motor young and protected from the needless wear of excessive heat and speed with Realube, the newest and finest motor oil sold in the West. And now, Chief Davis.
Parker was arrested, and Kansas City officers were notified that he was being held. He was returned to that city, where he was tried and convicted and sentenced to prison for the term prescribed by law. It was impossible to show conspiracy on the part of Mrs. Parker, and she was subsequently released. Parker's was an almost perfect crime that failed to pay.
Thank you, Chief Davis.
Los Angeles Police calling all cars. Attention all cars. A cancellation of broadcast 244. Suspects in this case are now in custody. That's all. Rosenquist.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night for Rio Grande. Calling all cars, a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
San Francisco Police calling all cars. Attention all cars to broadcast 245 regarding a holdup. There were 2 bandits. Number 1 described as 5 feet 10 inches, weight about 150 pounds. Number 2 described as blonde, 5 feet 11 inches, weight 160 pounds. These men just held up a Safeway store on Divisadero Street. Approach with caution. They are armed and dangerous. That's all. Rosenquist.
What would you think, friends, of a battleship powered by an outboard motor? Ridiculous, isn't it? And yet some motorists practically duplicate it when they underpower their cars with anemic gasoline and merely go through the motions of protecting their investments with flabby, afraid-to-fight-back motor oil. What gasoline of maximum performance powers more police cars, ambulances, fire engines, and other emergency equipment wherever it is sold than any other brand?
Rio Grande cracked.
What motor fuel is also the choice of an overwhelmingly large number of California state and federal government officials to power their front-line automotive equipment?
Rio Grande cracked.
Right both times, and tens of thousands of motorists likewise agree that Rio Grande cracked is the longer mileage gasoline that gives them more powerful, more speedful performance, quicker on the takeoff, unfailing acceleration, and smoother operation at any rate of speed. In short,
police car performance.
Get yours from now on, friends. When you leave the house for work in the morning, stop at the red and white Rio Grande station in your neighborhood and enjoy police car performance in your own car. Rio Grande is indebted to the law enforcement officers of the West, whose enthusiastic cooperation in making all confidential files available make these programs possible. Tonight, we salute San Francisco and their able sheriff, Dan Murphy, who will speak to you from KSFO.
It is an acknowledged fact that generally too much of certain types of reading and motion pictures tending to paint a glamorous picture of the daring criminal of gang life and kindred subjects has had and is having an undermining effect on the morals of American youth. The man who commits crime is sowing the wind and reaping the whirlwind. Those who commit crime pay a price beyond computation. There is not enough money to lighten the empty hours, days, weeks, and months for the loved ones awaiting the return of a prison-marked man. One might speculate as to whether or not such thoughts would have deterred the men whose story we are about to hear. Nevertheless, they found, as every criminal eventually finds, that crime is a losing proposition.
It is a bitterly cold San Francisco night in December of 1936. An automobile containing two men pulls into the driveway of an oil station at 10th and Mission Street.
All right, get back into that station, buddy. This is a stick-up.
Come on, fella, snap into it.
Now open that cash register and then get busy on the floor safe.
Come on, quit shaking and get going. We ain't got all night.
Yeah, take it easy, kid. When you get the top off of that safe, just don't make no noise and stay where you are, see? Yeah. Then you won't get hurt.
All right, Mug, come on, hand over that there door.
And remember what I told you. 140 move and I'll blast you, get me? Come on, kid, let's get away.
Within 20 minutes of this first hold-up, two other oil stations fall prey to this bold pair of bandits. And then for 3 long months, an amazing series of similar crimes are reported almost weekly to the Bay City Police. Inspectors Raymond Doherty and William Hanson, who are in charge of the investigation, are discussing the case when suddenly the police radio flashes a message.
San Francisco Police calling car 142, car 142. A holdup at 2900 Fulton Street. A Safeway store held up at 2900 Fulton Street.
Another robbery, eh? Do you suppose this is the work of those two birds we've just been talking about, Doherty?
Well, if it is, those fellows are getting away with murder.
You said it. They've pulled at least 12 holdups that we know about in the last 3 months.
Yeah, and who knows how many more.
Well, if this is their 13th, let's hope their luck breaks with this one and ours begins.
Calling all cars, attention all cars. Be on the lookout for a stolen Hupmobile sedan. License number 4 Chicago 8293. 4 Chicago 8293.
I see.
Occupants are 2 men, one described as tall and blond, the other short and stocky. These men just held up a Safeway store at 2900 Fulton Street. Exercise caution in apprehending these men, as both are armed. That's all.
That's them, all right.
Come on, let's go. Get the car. I'm going to nab those two birds if it's the last thing I ever do.
Well, if that stolen Hup sedan hasn't already been picked up by some of the boys, we ought to find it somewhere in the vicinity of the robbery.
Yeah, that seems to be their system. They generally leave their getaway car within a few blocks of the place they figure on sticking up.
If you just get a line on that car there, Hanson, we'd have something to work on. As it is, we haven't got a single lead except a vague description of what they look like.
Well, their luck can't hold. The only reason we haven't caught up with them so far is because they don't seem to have any past record.
Yeah, I know.
Not a doggone one of the victims could identify a picture that even remotely resembled them when we had him look through a stack of mug pictures the other day.
Yeah.
And we showed him the pictures of every known hold-up man that's been released from a California penitentiary for the last 5 years.
It's funny how they stick to oil stations, cigar stores, and markets.
Well, they probably figure those places are the easiest pickings.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, they haven't done so bad either. They've netted nearly $1,000 in 3 months.
Well, they won't think that so much when they're sitting up there in the pen thinking back over it.
Come to think of it, this is their first daytime job, isn't it?
Yeah. All the others have been between 8 and 11 at night.
I'm just wondering if there isn't some way... Say, Doherty.
Yeah?
That Hup sedan parked over there by the curb.
Huh?
I think that's the car we're looking for.
Can you see the license plate?
Just a minute. 4C8293, that's the baby.
I'll pull over and park ahead of it a little ways.
And keep your fingers crossed. With any kind of a break, we ought to get a lead out of this.
Well, unless they had their own car planted somewhere around here, they can't be very far away. Hasn't been over 20 minutes since the holdup.
Look, that car's right in front of an apartment house. Maybe some of the people inside might have seen who left it there.
Well, there's nothing like finding out.
Come on, then. We'll try the manager's apartment first.
And I'm still keeping my fingers crossed.
Yes?
I'm sorry to disturb you, lady. We're police officers.
Oh, police officers.
No, there's nothing to be alarmed about. We're merely trying to get a little information.
Oh, I see.
There's a Hupmobile sedan parked out in front there. I wonder if by any chance you might have seen who left it.
Hupmobile sedan?
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not much good at telling one type of car from another. But I'll come out and take a look at it if you want to point it out to me.
I'd appreciate it if you would. There, that's the car.
I'm afraid I can't help you any. As far as I know, I've never seen the car before in my life.
I was afraid of that.
Well, thanks just the same, lady. Do you mind if we use your phone?
Oh, no, not at all.
You see, that car's been stolen, and I want to report that it's been located.
Stolen? Why, I just happened to think.
Yes?
I was outside just a few minutes before you rang the bell. That car wasn't parked there then.
It wasn't?
No. There was a small tan coupe standing there. I don't know what make of car it was.
And you didn't see who left it?
No. All I know is that I saw the coupe not over 5 or 6 minutes ago.
Well, Dorothy, there's our first lead.
Two weeks went by, during which time the bandits struck again on 3 different occasions. But the police had not yet been able to trace the small tan coupe, and then on the evening of March 22nd, Howard Mao and another attendant were on duty in a Safeway store at 301 Divisadero Street when 2 men walked in. Disregarding the presence of several customers, the smaller of the 2 came directly to the grocery counter where Mao was standing.
Come on. Keep your hands where I can see him, buddy. This is a stick-up.
Stick-up? What are you talking about?
You heard what I said. Keep that trap of yours shut and hand over the dough. All you got in the place.
Now, listen, mister, you can't
Shut
get
up,
away
I
with
tell you. One more peep out of you, and it's going to be just too bad. Now, shell out the jack.
Oh, tough guy, huh? Why, you give me that gun. I'll show you what I... Why, you dirty...
Shut up! Shut up! You folks pipe down and get over there in the back of the store, or you'll see some more shooting.
Trying to grab my gun, did you, wise guy? Well, maybe that'll teach you to behave. Hey, you. You over there behind the butcher counter. Yeah. Come out here and get this dough for me if you don't want to get some of the same medicine.
Where'd you plug 'em, Walter?
I don't know. In the belly, I guess. Who cares?
Yeah, well, tell that butcher to step on it. We got to scram out of here.
Come on, you. Come on. Hurry up with that dough. I'd just as soon lay you out beside this other mug, see?
You people in the back there, stay where you are for a good 5 minutes, see? And no funny business, you get me?
Okay, let's beat it, kid. I got the bankroll.
With Howard Mao seriously wounded, the police continue their search for the 2 bandits with renewed vigor. And then, 4 nights later, comes the first really important lead.
Ellis Polk Police Station.
Is this a desk, Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
Well, listen. There's 3 men sitting in a booth here looking at an automatic pistol. I thought I'd better call and tell you about it.
Where is this place you're telling me about?
It's a beer parlor at 1400 Eddy Street.
Is that where you're calling from?
Yeah.
All right, we'll send someone over to see about it. This is the place, all right. I suppose we'll have to search everybody in the place to find that gun.
That's all right by me.
Maybe the bartender knows something about it.
Yeah.
Hey, George. Come here a minute, will you?
Hello, boys. What'll it be?
Has anybody in here been flashing a gun around?
Not that I know of, no.
I see. Well, we'll just have to search everybody, that's all.
Well, what makes you think that...
A little bird told us. Oh. All right, folks, pay attention here a minute. Which one of you's got a gun on him?
All right, you might as well answer up because we're going to find it anyway.
All right, if you don't want to tell us, line up there against the wall, all of you.
I'll start at the other end. We'll search these people.
Uh-oh. What's this? So you're the lad who's packing a gun, are you? What's your name?
Elmer Ballard.
Don't you know there's a law against carrying concealed weapons, Elmer?
Yeah, so what?
So you'll just come on down to the station with us till we get a chance to find out something about you.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, look, coppers, what's the beef? This guy wasn't doing no harm. Just showing us his gun was all.
Who are you, a friend of Elmer's?
Yeah, in a way. I've known from in here.
Well, I'd keep my mouth shut if I were you, unless you want to come along, too.
Oh, all right.
Okay, Elmer, go out and get in the car.
Always a bunch of lousy coppers sticking their noses.
Say, Al.
Yeah?
As soon as them cops drive away, come on outside. I think I know who tipped them.
Yeah?
Yeah. See that guy sitting up there at the bar? The guy was in the telephone booth a little while ago.
You mean you think he's the one who tipped him?
Well, that telephone booth ain't his office.
Yeah?
Well, wait here till he comes out. Then I'm going to show him what I do with stool pigeons like him.
Hey, quiet. Here he comes now.
Yeah. Hey, listen, wise guy.
Yeah?
You tipped them bulls about Elmer having a gun, didn't you?
Who says I did?
I do. And maybe this will teach you to be smart after this.
Hey, come on. What's the idea?
Hey, Walter, let me get in a sock at this guy, will you?
Say, Al, you hit him kind of hard, didn't you?
Gosh, his head's bleeding, ain't it? But I didn't do that with my fist. See, it's where his head hit the sidewalk.
Well, anyway, looks like a gun to me. So long, Al. I'll be seeing you.
Yeah.
On the arrival of the ambulance, the man who had been beaten was pronounced dead. Al Levere was placed under arrest, but his companion had disappeared. A few days later, it was discovered that the bullet that had wounded Howard Mao had been fired from the gun found on Elmer Ballard. Immediately, Inspector Butts and Corporal Engler, who had taken over the investigation, went up to the city prison to question the two prisoners.
I don't know how you feel about it, Engler, but I think these two are the fellows we want for all those holdups.
Well, we ought to know something in a minute. The guard's bringing them over here now.
Oh, hello, Ballard. You and Levere sit down, won't you? I want to have a little talk with you.
Whatever you say, copper, you're the boss.
You've got a pretty serious charge hanging over your head, Levere. Don't you think it'd be wiser if you decided to tell us the truth?
Now, look, I have been telling you the truth, see? This guy, Walter Misak, was calling us by our names.
Are you
see?
still sure you don't know Walter's last name?
Now, listen, Inspector Butts, if I knew his last name was, I'd only be too glad to tell you, but I don't know it.
What about you, Ballard?
I only know him as Walter, same as Allie. I never heard anybody call him anything else. You see, it's just like I told you at first. This guy was calling us names, and Walter stepped in and let him have it, see? Then I took up where he left off.
Where'd you fellows meet this Walter?
In that beer parlor. He's been hanging around there for a couple of months. Spent quite a bit of money, too.
He did, eh?
Yeah.
Where'd he get it, do you know?
It wasn't none of our business where he got it.
You don't happen to know what he did for a living, do you?
No, fact is, I never knew Walter to do any work.
And you don't know where he lived?
He never told anybody around there that I know of.
You don't know either, Ballard?
No.
Did either of you ever see him with an automobile?
Yeah, he had a car, all right. It's a Chrysler sedan with 1936 license plate.
36 plates, eh?
Yeah, he said the new ones was coming down from Sacramento.
I see. Do you know where he kept this car?
No, but I know the service station where he always buys his gas. Maybe they can tell you something there. Hey, give me a pencil and I'll write it down on a piece of paper for you. The address, I mean.
Okay. Sure you boys don't know anything more about this fellow than you're telling me?
I don't know nothing about him at all.
All right. We'll be in to see you again in a day or so.
Don't bother.
So long, boys, and we'll be seeing you.
This is the filling station Levere rode down.
Well, let's hope we'll be able to get some kind of a line on this fellow Walter that we could follow up.
Good afternoon. Fill your tank, sir?
No, thanks. We're just looking for a little information.
Yes, sir.
Do you know a man by the name of Walter who owns a Chrysler sedan?
Oh, Walter?
That's his given name, I understand. We don't know what his last name is.
I think I know the man you mean. You are trying to locate him, are you?
That's about the size of it. We'd appreciate any information you can give us.
I can't think of his last name myself offhand, but I think I have it in my file somewhere.
And see if you can find the license number of his car while you're at it.
In just a moment, sir.
Thanks.
This may be just the break we're looking for.
Well, I hope so, Engler.
You know, I got a hunch this fellow will turn out to be one of those two bandits just as sure as the world.
Are your hunches usually any good?
Well, I think this one's going to be.
Fine.
Here you are, sir. This card ought to give you the information you want.
Well, thanks a lot. Walter Grannis, 5 feet, 6 inches tall, weight 150 pounds.
Say, that tallies exactly with our description of the shorter of the two bandits. We're on the right trail now, no mistake.
The car's registered to 1622 Clay Street.
Yeah, that's right. I've got it all copied down here.
And let's get on over to that address.
Is there anything else I can do, sir?
No, that's fine, and thanks a lot, old man.
9 o'clock already, and that apartment's dark as a tomb.
Yeah?
Would be just our luck not to find anybody home when we got here.
Well, this business of staking out in cold weather is part of the fun of being a police officer.
If this fellow Grannis doesn't show up pretty soon, I'm going to send somebody for an overcoat. Well, we've been parked out here since 4 o'clock.
You know, Engler, I've been thinking about that story Ballard told us.
You mean about having bought the gun they found on him from Walter Grannis?
Yeah. If he only answered the description of the taller bandit, I'd say the man was merely lying to save his hide, but as it is, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I want to believe that he's telling the truth, partly for his own sake, and partly because his story definitely pins the Mao shooting on this man Grannis.
Anyway, I think the lead we got from that service station operator...
Hey, hold on a minute. Wait. I think those people are going into the apartment house we're watching.
Yeah, you're right. It's a woman and a couple of children.
Come on, Engler. Here's where we go to work. Just a moment, please, if you don't mind. We'd like to ask you a few questions.
Well, what is it?
We'd like to know if a man named Walter Grannis lives here.
Why, no, he doesn't.
Are you a relative of his?
I'm his sister.
Oh, I see. Do you know where we can find him?
No, I don't. He moves around quite a lot. I don't see much of him. What do you want with him?
We're from the police department, lady.
Police? Why,
we're investigating a crime of a very serious nature, so I want to tell you right now that it'll be best all around if you tell us nothing but the truth.
Well, that is, well, I'm Walter Grannis's ex-wife.
Oh, I see.
We've been separated for about 7 years.
And you say he doesn't come around here very often.
I was mistaken about that, officer. He generally drops in about twice a week.
But you still insist that you don't know where he lives.
No, I don't. Really, officer, that's the truth. But I think he keeps his car in a garage in the Western Addition, near Divisadero Street somewhere. So he probably lives close by.
When do you expect him to come around here again?
Well, he said he'd be here tomorrow.
Yeah?
He's waiting for his new license plates from Sacramento, and they'll be coming to this address.
Well, I want to get in touch with him right away. There was a murder committed in a street brawl, and...
No, not a murder.
Now, don't worry, lady. Grannis isn't in any way implicated. We merely want him for a witness, that's all.
Word is immediately broadcast describing the Chrysler sedan belonging to Grannis, along with the license number. And the following morning, officers, acting on the information supplied by the bandit's ex-wife, locate the car in the Grove Street garage. Learning from the attendant the name of the apartment house where their man can be found, Engler and Inspector Hanson waste no time in getting there.
Oh, there's no sense in fooling with this door any longer, Inspector. Besides that double lock already on there, there's this padlock.
I think the owner lives in the building. Maybe we can get the keys from him.
Now, what's all this noise going on up here?
Are you the owner of this building?
Yes. What of it?
Well, you're just the man we want to see.
Well, I wish I hadn't if you don't stop that racket. I can hear you clear down on the first floor. What are you trying to do? Break into that room?
That's about the size of it. We're police officers.
I don't care who you are. That doesn't give you any call to go around smashing people's doors.
Keep your shirt on, mister. We're not smashing any doors. And we'd appreciate it if you'd open up this apartment for us.
I'll do nothing of the kind. Besides, I haven't got the keys to that apartment. The only ones there are belong to the tenant.
Well, it might interest you to know that this tenant is wanted on a charge of robbery.
Well, it doesn't interest me. I don't know anything about the man who lives here and care less.
Does that mean you don't intend to cooperate with us?
You bet it does. Furthermore, I don't want cops hanging around my apartment house, so
I'd think again if I were you, mister.
You can't threaten me.
I have no intention of threatening you. I merely want to warn you that if you refuse to cooperate, we'll simply have to enter these rooms by force, that's all.
You can't do this. You've got a warrant. I'm going to call your headquarters and report you.
Nice fella. He sure worked himself into a stew, didn't he?
Oh, well, you've got to expect to meet up with people like that sometimes. But we've got to get into this apartment.
I noticed the paint shop down the street when we came up here. They've most likely got a ladder that'll reach 3 stories. We can climb in from the outside.
Hey, that's an idea. Go on over there and see what you can do, Engler.
I'll be right back.
There, that does it. Yeah, that ladder idea of yours was a burst of genius, Engler.
Well, look out for your head climbing over the sill there.
Now, let's see what we can find.
Doesn't keep this apartment of his very clean, does he?
You'd never mistake it for a lady's boudoir, if that's what you mean.
Well, I'll begin on these bureau drawers.
Find anything?
No, nothing yet. Just the usual odds and ends.
Keep on looking while I take a glance through this closet over here.
This dresser is a mess. Grannis must have... Uh-oh.
What is it?
Hey, look here, Inspector.
Well, a 25 caliber automatic pistol and a box of 32 caliber shells, huh?
Yeah, that box of shells makes it look like Ballard's story about buying the gun might be true at that.
And now inquiries in the neighborhood where Grannis had lived began to yield information. It was learned that he had been keeping company with a girl whose sister had recently moved to San Mateo. Therefore, Corporal Engler, Inspector Husted, Fred Butts, and William Hanson, and Special Officer Jimmy Britt of the National Automobile Theft Club drove to that city where, by careful search, they located the woman they now wanted as an important link in their chain of evidence.
Are you Miss Travers?
Yes.
We're officers from the San Francisco Police Department. We'd like you to give us a little information, if you will.
Certainly. Won't you come in?
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, I rather thought that you might come here.
You did? Why was that?
Well, first, may I ask what kind of information you're looking for?
Well, we're trying to locate a man named Grannis, Walter Grannis.
Oh, that's the answer I expected. You see, he came down here yesterday with my sister.
Oh, yeah? Go on.
She told me the police were looking for them, that they were making a getaway and going to Los Angeles.
Going to Los Angeles, huh?
Yes.
Do you think they went on down the coast from here?
No, because Walter didn't have his own car. He had one that he'd borrowed from a friend of his to use for the day.
I see. Did he say what this friend's name was?
Well, he referred to him as Elmer, I believe. He didn't mention any last name.
And do you suppose he meant Elmer Ballard, Inspector?
Oh, I don't see how it could be. Ballard's been in jail now for weeks. Did you get a chance to see the car Grannis was driving, Miss Travers?
Why, yes, I did.
Oh, could you describe it?
It was a tan Chrysler coupe, as I remember.
Tan coupe. Dollars to donuts, that's the car that apartment house manager told you about 3 weeks ago, Inspector.
Well, to be honest with you, gentlemen, I'm terribly worried about my sister Ethel. She's going around in pretty bad company.
I'll agree with you there, Miss Travers.
I don't think Ethel's done anything that's really against the law yet. So when you arrest Walter, will you please try to keep her away from being involved as much as you can?
We'll do everything in our power in that respect, Miss Travers, I assure you. But now we've got to be getting back to the city. Thank you very kindly for your cooperation.
Perfectly all right.
Bye.
Goodbye. Well, that's a darn nice girl. It's too bad her family has to be bothered with a guy like Grannis.
Well, the thing to do now is to find out who this fellow Elmer is.
Nothing hard about that.
What do you mean, nothing hard about it, Britt?
Remember when you had me go through the records to find out who the legal owner of Grannis's car was?
Sure. What's that got to do with it?
Well, I checked with the owner in regard to Grannis's references, and I found out who they were.
So what?
So we don't have to look any further to find out Elmer's identity. I know who he is. He's Elmer Mohegan, who signed as a reference for Grannis when he bought the car.
Well, have you got Mohegan's address there?
Oh, I bet it's somewhere. 19th and Cap Streets.
How do you do? Is Mr. Mohegan at home?
Are you friends of his?
Why, yes.
Well, he isn't home right now. He just went out with some other people to buy some crabs. They're going to have a chipino.
Oh, I see.
I don't believe they'll be gone very long. Would you like to come in and wait?
No, thanks. We're really having the time right now, but we'll be back later. We want to see him about a job.
Oh, well, that's fine. Come back whenever you're ready. I'm sure Elmer will be glad to see you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
That's perfectly all right.
Now, listen, boys.
Yeah?
We've got 2 cars here. We'll split up into 2 parties. Drive each car about a half a block from the house, one up the street and the other down. Parked that way, Elmer will be right between us when he drives in, and besides, we'll have a clear view of who arrives and enters the house.
Okay.
Now, let's get going. Engler, you stay with me.
Yes, sir.
And be careful, boys. These boys are tough. How long have we been waiting now, Engler?
Well, just half-hour, Inspector.
It's taken them a deuce of a while to buy those crabs.
Yeah. Say, here comes a Chrysler coupe now, just rounding that corner.
Yep, that's it, all right.
There's 4 of them in there. A man and a woman in the front, and a man and a woman in the rumble seat.
All right, boys, pull in behind them. The other car will head them off from the front.
Put up your hands and get out of that car.
Hey, what is this you mugs is trying to pull anyhow?
Now, take it easy, Grannis. And don't any of you be silly enough to try to reach for a gun.
Say, what's the big idea, coppers? We ain't done nothing.
Frisk 'em good, boys, and then slip the cuffs on 'em while I talk to the woman.
You ain't got nothing on Walter.
No? What do you know about what Walter's been doing?
None of your business.
Oh, so you're going to take that attitude, are you? What's your name?
I don't know.
Where do you live?
I don't know.
Well, maybe you think you could talk better down at headquarters. Is that it?
I don't know.
Oh, I know who you are, Ethel. I told your sister I'd try to give you a break, but I can't do anything for you if you're going to act this way.
I don't want no breaks from you, copper.
All right. It's up to you.
Nuts.
You can take this girl down to the station with the men, boys.
Right.
All right, boys, let's get going.
Say, you coppers just won't give a guy a break, will you?
You got your break, Grannis, when Howard Mao was lucky enough not to die from that bullet you shot into his stomach. That's a better break than you deserve, and it's the only one you're going to get.
In just a moment, we will hear the concluding facts on this program. Your automobile is just as important a part of your daily life as those which figured in the apprehension of Grannis and Mohegan. Get police car performance with Rio Grande cracked gasoline. Safeguard all of its vital moving parts with Realube, the stronger, tougher motor oil that can't break down. On April 5th, Grannis and Mohegan pleaded guilty and were sentenced to Folsom Penitentiary on 2 counts of first-degree robbery, with the recommendation that they be shown no leniency and that they never be granted parole.
San Francisco Police calling all cars. Attention all cars. The cancellation broadcast 245 regarding a holdup. Suspects in this case are now in custody. That's all. Rosenquist.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night for Rio Grande.